Okay, Johnny, I'm interested to hear the answer to this one myself. If Johnny had to eat one meal with a famous punter, and I'll add in that, living or dead, who is the punter? What is the meal and where? And who's paying the bill?
Um, well, I wouldn't. The bill wouldn't bother me paying it anyway. Our aim would make no difference anyway who paid the bill. Like the bills never bothered me, especially when I was winning anyway. The old bills only worry you when you're actually losing. But uh, the punter. I always admired Harry Finley. To be honest, I did. Even seeing him at the coursing and that, I liked that he was brash. He's like a good character though, and I know he'd a big string of fellas with him, but I liked that about him. And I wouldn't say he was happy go lucky or anything like that, but he was a big spender, and he was look. I like his persona anyway, and I like the fact that he can, like, even though he went down a bit, he's still hanging in. You know what I mean? And he's a kind of a guy that is resourceful too. Do you know what I mean? And like I know some of the stories about him, and look, I do know him, but I never had dinner with him or anything like that. But no, he's a very interesting character to me, and the fact that he's still hanging in there. Okay, maybe at a slightly different level than he used to be, but most people are at a slightly different levels than they were anyway. So that's the way gambling has gone. It's not. It hasn't gone with inflation. It's the one thing that always, like, I often hear fellas saying, "Oh, this fella, he's betting in 20s." I remember him having 4,000s on horses, but gambling goes the opposite to normal. What fellas were saying, a house is worth 6,000, it's worth 200,000. No, it doesn't go like that. Fellas bet big and then they go the other way because they start to lose. But Big Harry to me was always a fascinating character, and yeah, he'd be the guy I think I'd go with.
Okay, no, this is from Borough 88. It's going back to what you said at the end of the last thing, really. Back in racing only as you do, during lockdown when racing was off for a while, what did you bet on, or did you just sit tight?
Well, that was the time for Netflix for me. Do you know what I mean? I still can't think of that thing that thing it was called, but like I didn't bet on anything. I didn't bet on anything. I mean, I can watch sport. I love golf on a Sunday night, and I very rarely have a bet in it. Like very, and even if I do have a bet, it's only token one. It's not life or death or anything like that. But I'd have two or three sports bets a year. Uh, like there would be, and there'd be normally biggish ones too. But I just would have the odd sports bet. But invariably, I watch a lot of sport, and I'd never have a bet in it. And the COVID was the one eye opener for me. Was the one thing that I could go like weeks and weeks. Obviously, I had no choice to have no bet. But as soon as it got up and running, now I would entertain all weather and all that kind of stuff. Now, a flat all weather and any kind of thing like that. But I wouldn't like bet on American football or very rarely soccer or anything like that. No, no, no. It was a bit of an eye opener that I could actually function without having a bet.
Okay, and it's the same guy, Borough 88. Is it always straight win bets you do, or do you ever do place betting? And what do you think of that market?
The place betting is tough because it's you have to kind of drip feed money into the place markets. I find you do anyway. Um, it's very often that the prices are not that attractive, and when they are, you can see why after the race. I don't do a lot of place betting. I would have an odd each way bet. Every bet I do 98% of our singles, and I'd never do Yankees or them kind of them like whatever them what you call them. They're like there's four timers or super yank anything like multiples they call them. Sorry, multiples. I'd never do multiples ever. Uh, the most I'd ever do would be a double, and that would be maybe two skinny ones to make up an even money chance. Say 2 to 5 and 4 to 9 or something like that. I might do a double, but rarely do anything more than singles. Would have an odd each way bet, but each way is half thing that's half gone as well because the prices have been cut now to make sure that they're nowhere as attractive as they used to be. I mean, one time they used to bet like I remember instances where they could bet 1 to 10 and 10 to 1, the front two in the market. Now, now it'd be 1 to 14 and about 9 to 2 or something. The second favorite, you know what I mean? Or one day maybe the tens on chance could still be tens on, but the second favorite will be cut like you barely get your money back if it's placed. So all each way bets they all seem to die as far as I could see. I couldn't see very little value in them anymore.
Okay, I think the next part of his question, you've already answered it. Did anybody ever rip you off?
I will look rip me off. I suppose. Look, yeah, I suppose they did. It's, rip rip. Yeah, I suppose you're going to have that in any kind of a business, aren't you? Really, you're going to have that, and especially when there's gambling is concerned. It's like there's like the money when there's money swirling. There's always going to be a bit of skullduggery here and there. So look, that's kind of part and parcel of the two. Look, at one time you didn't mind. Like as I said, I never minded not getting paid by punters that didn't have it or whatever, but like maybe loaning money or giving money to some fella, that's slightly different, especially when they may have it to give it back to you and they don't. So look, that's part and parcel of the game. It's not so much, it's probably a good thing too that there's very little credit anymore anyway, you know what I mean? Because it stops people from getting into trouble really.
Okay, this next one, I think Mark Winstone5 probably knows the answer to this question already, but as he took the time to post it on Twitter, I'll ask you. Can you ask Johnny if I can join his WhatsApp groups? I can offer my bad info if they want it.
I don't have WhatsApp groups actually. I mean, I deal with 4 or 5 people nearly every day. We don't do a WhatsApp group or anything like that. Though I've heard people talking about them, but I don't. I'm not a part of one of them anyway, to be honest. But not for gambling purposes anyway.
Okay, Toot a Coop 3. Who would Johnny consider to have been the shrewdest bookmaker he would have ever stood alongside?
Um, look, I suppose you'd probably have to say somebody like Joe Donnelly, who didn't know a lot about and didn't know anything about horses as such, didn't know anything at all about them, to be honest, but made a lot of money out of playing people and playing, knowing who to play and being able probably to read situations and markets rather than actual didn't do any form or anything like that, or didn't have any idea of form, but was able to play people. So I presume he could recognise who he could win off of and who he couldn't, and I suppose that's a valuable trait. And like he got he got going from bookmaking. I know he has a lot more wealth now than he had from when he was a bookmaker, but he had to get the leg up somewhere, and he got it from there. And you'd have to admire someone like that.
Okay, this next one, supply demand. Don't know how long this is going to take. Can you please tell us your process in pricing a book?
Look, I mean, I don't try to price every single race every single day. I pick out the races that I want. I'll go through every single horse, and you probably price the outsiders, the ones that have no chance first, and work backwards towards the favourite, and then you'll probably price you get to the 3 or 4 that you think are going to form the bulk of the market, and price them as accurately as you can. That's the way I'd price it anyway. And try and price it to in around 100%, and then if you see a fault, or you think is a fault, or a differential in the prices that when they do arrive, then you probably act upon it. But look, I don't get the prices now that I used to get, because the prices are up too early, and they're up at 6 o'clock the evening before. I can't bet till 8:30 or 9 o'clock the following morning. So it's 15 hours is a long time, and if they're still there 15 hours later, look, I always found that you're on your own if you think they're a good price then, because they should be gone. If you're any kind of a judge, the prices should be gone. It's how gone they are is the question. Like, are they? Is the 2 to 1 chance 6 to 4? Is it still backable, or has it gone to 8 to 11 and it's not backable? You know, that kind of way. So you're kind of hoping that it's gone, the price is gone, but it's not gone to the point that you can't back it at all.
Okay, now this one, I did notice that you answered it last night, but for anybody that didn't see it, it was a link to an article, and the basics of it was, this is from BJ Shark 7 again. Does Johnny think that it's only certain people that have the talent to be professional punters, and can't it ever really be purely taught to somebody?
No, I think you have to have that psyche, or you have to have an attitude. But first of all, you got to take the rough with the smooth in you. But the big thing I think would I always stood to me was that you have to respect and disrespect money at the same time. If you know what it's hard to put that into context, but by saying you have to disrespect it when you're betting, because you can't think of saying, "Oh, if I didn't back that horse, I could have bought a couch, or I could have bought a fridge, or I could have bought a new car or whatever. You know what I mean? You kind of got to bet, but when you do get your few quid into a pot, then you've got to respect it and say, look, I'm taking X out of that pot, and I am going to buy a car or a fridge or something to show for it. I mean, I think in this game you have to have something to show for it. You can't you can't bet away, and roll your tank up, keep going up, and suddenly it goes back down to zilch, and then you say, Jesus, I finished up with nothing there, and I haven't the price of a box of cigarettes left. You know what I mean? That kind of way. I think when you get something, you should have something to show for it at the end of the day, and you've got to bet with a bit of abandon, but you also have to kind of respect the money as well. It's a kind of it's a hard thing to explain really, but look, I always found that I never worried about what I lost, but when I did win, I did make a conscious decision that I've got to do something with it now, and take it away from out of my pool, and you go back betting in smaller units again, because you'll find that if you have a big pool of money, you'll bet bigger and you'll bet with less caution, and because you'll be saying, sure, look, it's only so much. I still have a big pot of money here yet. You know what I mean? Whereas if you have a smaller pool to bet with, you'll find that the bets will be slightly small, and you can win a lot of money betting small as well. You don't have to be betting in tens of thousands to win money. And plus, if you are betting in tens of thousands, there's only certain people you can bet with. And if they're going to take you on for tens and thousands, they'll know what they're doing more than likely. You can be sure they'll know what they're doing. So I always found that you needed to bet fairly big, but not too cautious. But if you did make profit, then you had to show a bit of caution then, and take your chips off the table.
Okay, now this is the second last one. Didn't come via Twitter. It come via a phone call this morning from your old mate Dean, Valentine.
Yeah.
He says, "Ask Johnny." I can't do a Dean voice, but you know it goes.
Yeah.
He said, "Why didn't you say what you really think of bookmakers in your original interview?"
Well, you didn't even ask me that question anyway at the time.
I got
So.
that. Your Dean's asking it now.
Yeah. Look. Look. So I've met loads of people, loads of bookmakers, and they're grand people, very nice people, especially on-course bookmakers. There's a different breed to but the one thing I did find about bookies in the latter years, not on-course bookies, but maybe more so off-course, that there is a distinct lack of honor in the way they dealt with people. You know what I mean? They tried to mess you around every chance they could, and you know, I hear stories of people like looking to even withdraw money, and this guy sending them back the same photograph on their passport about 20 times and saying it's not in line and all this, just to really frustrate someone and just make life difficult, annoy them more than anything else. And even with bets there, you'd hear of people saying that's a guy goes, you know, I mean, it happened to me once or twice where I have fellas coming in, they'd have bets for me, and next thing they go up to collect, and if it's just a small bet now, and it could be, I think one day, I'll just give you an example. It was only 100 quid each way, and a horse at 16 to 1, and it was ranging, it was circled, it was referenced and reference number and all that kind of stuff, and so it was placed. So there was like 420 off it. It was a 50 odds. So the man went in to draw the 420. You won hands him 340, and he says no, it was 420, and she said no, it was only 12 to 1. But he said you put the circle around it, and she said, well, no, it was it was a technical glitch. You know what I mean? This kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like a technical glitch. Like they're never going to pay for their own mistakes. These bookies nowadays, are they? Like that's the problem. I think if a punter makes a mistake, he pays. But if they make a mistake, it's palpable error or technical glitch, or you're 6 seconds too late, and all this kind of stuff. Or it's 6-4 instead of 7-4. And like I've seen instances there where like punters that are betting in betting shops every day of the week, £20 punters. Guy goes up and he has 20 quid at 7-4, and next thing he goes up to draw, it wins, and your one is giving him 13 to 8 to score. Like it's only £2.50 of a difference, and like she'd nearly go outside the counter and fight him over it. Do you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. It's the most cruel stuff altogether. But I do find the off course, some of the guys working for them have no honor. They just want to do certain things to annoy you, mess you around, even even withdrawing or putting money in and all. Like I can imagine what kind of stuff they do for you with this the stuff that you have to do nowadays to prove your funds and all this kind of stuff. And look, that was the one gripe I'd have with bookies, to be honest.
Okay, finally, Johnny, this is from me because I just picked up on something you said earlier. You said you hope to have like 6 or 7 years left in the game. Then you're going to
Yeah.
be sort of around retire. So, what do professional punters like you do when they retire? I mean, are you just going to walk away from it totally, or is he just going to be not betting for a living?
Well, I mean, if I wasn't like I actually love betting. I love betting, and the mode of betting that I chose was horses. If I didn't bet on the horses, I mean, if I wasn't betting on the horses of a Tuesday at home and Brighton and Pontefract was on, I just wouldn't even turn it on. You know what I mean? You'd have no interest in the world in watching that. You might just have a casual look at, but if I wasn't betting it, I think I could easily walk away from it completely. I definitely wouldn't bet unless I could bet to a meaningful level anyway. And if I thought I couldn't win it at a meaningful level, I wouldn't bet at all anyway. I'd find I would be able, like COVID even proved to me that I could operate without betting on horses. You know what I mean? And so, I mean, what I do with my time, I do not know. But like I would be, I would imagine I'd have no problem filling it at the same time. You know, so look, I'd be hoping to get to. If I'm lucky, I might get to 60. If I live to 60, that is, and if I get to 60 as some sort of a punter, like I'm betting since I'm 14, 15, 13 years of age. I have a lot of it done. You know what I mean? And I know and like you'd have to admire fellas like Barney Curley who bet into their 80s and all that kind of stuff. Like you know what I mean? And who bet at a high level too, because mentally you're not going to be as sharp. Like mentally, I'm fine, but as sharp as you would be in your 30s, I think. And I think that's probably the where you're going to be at the pinnacle of your gambling career. I think 30s to early 40s. I'd say once after you go over that point, you're probably on the way down. You know.
Did you ever do any business with Barney?
No, no, no. He was like out of Ireland ever before I came around, and he was kind of, I'd say, gone off the tracks in England when I came to him as well. I mean, I listen. He would have been probably a. First of all, you wouldn't have wanted his business anyway. I'd say, would you like really? But he, I can't ever remember seeing him at too many meetings, like from the early 2000s on. I don't think. I'd say he was nearly gone off the racetracks at that stage, was he?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I
Yeah,
wouldn't have seen him
but
very
no,
much.
I did bet. I never did business with him anyway. Never ever. No.
Okay, well, Johnny Dineen, we've disturbed your holiday, so we enjoy the rest of it, getting your tan, and really appreciate the time you've given us. And thanks to for on behalf of everybody who sent
No
questions
worries.
in. Thank you very much.